psychologist counselor who is close to, by God's grace, in the next few years, I think I will be a doctor by God's grace. And I teach in universities and institutions of higher learning, colleges. I also do counseling, and that one is extended from all walks of people: children, elderly, middle age, the aged, and those that are classified as in need of such attention. So to be more specific, I am a psychologist counselor. I have trained well and practiced both in Uganda and outside. It's interesting to be what I am, because it exposes me to know things that once you are not a psychologist, you can't really. Life is amazing when you're a psychologist, because you get an opportunity about someone, and someone does not get an opportunity to know about him or herself. And because you are not at the privilege that every time you know about something, you tell that person, you live a world of knowing, and it's exciting. So I am happy to be hosted here. Now, on the topic of our discussion today, there are key three elements that I would like to bring to attention to listeners. One is that in our approach to do what we do and to do it better, we always want to look at the fineness of the mind and the composition of brain, and then the adaptability to adapt within the environment. One thing that is very, very important and key in one's life is the environment of nature and the environment of nature. Amon, Barbara, Ida are what they are because of where they have grown from and who they have grown with. Today it's quite interesting that most of our children spend more time with people who have not given birth to them and have not raised them, perhaps are literally attached to them. Or if they are attached, then it is conditional. I will give an example of a maid. A maid is taking care of her children because he's being paid. A teacher is being with your kid, taking discipline lines, everything, because he's doing his professional. A border guy is taking your child to school. They are talking, conversing, showing him buildings and all that, because he's doing his business. But to our dismay, a parent takes a big share of financial support without concern. And I have vehemently discouraged this from those I get an opportunity to meet. You get frustrated if you really pay attention too much on how parents are living today. A lot of carelessness. We have become wild animals. But even wild animals are taking care of their kids. There are few animals which deliver and go away and let children, their kids, to grow on their own. And this one has crossed to human. Why? The parents are all running to get money to support their children. But they don't want to understand and be part of what they are supporting. The parent can easily tell a child that now that I have paid school fees, my part is done. And I have sent you, I should see you after when the term is. And they will not bother to go back there and talk to teachers or talk to senior women or the the matrons, to really put their efforts together. Now, when it comes to handling of children today, I can authoritatively say and affirm this to the listeners, that going forward, if we don't change, we shall leave no continuation. Because me, I am a continuation of my father and my mother. If I am spoiled, then my mother and my father have left nothing. So it simply means that our clan, our tribe, has made a loss. Now, when you look at what I'm talking about, is about everyone is fixed with some names of some schools today. I will not mention them, but listeners can now bring them to their fingerprints.
Okay.
When you come to, as I conclude, the schools in terms of their business have set standards on how parents should be, on how much time parents should have their kids at home,
or
how
they should attend to their children.
They have put a script on how much time, because if a child is leaving at 5 a.m. in the morning, you as a father, you can't even wake up at 5 a.m., but the kid is up, So really, this is an interesting topic, and I think at the end of the day, we shall all benefit from this discussion.
Interesting. Allow me to bring you in, Barbara Singzi. You seem to be, by your experience and how you look, you seem to be also an expert when it comes to children nurturing, and I would also love to have your point of view and your experience when it comes to children nurturing and upbringing.
Okay, thank you so much, Amon. And thank you, our listeners. I'm a social worker, and I've been a social worker for something like 17 years now. And I've been dealing with children both in the community, at school, and at times at a children's home. So children, first of all, what we have to know that every child is a special person, and dealing with these children, you deal them with as individuals. It's not easy bringing up children, but by God's grace, you find yourself with time that you can manage these children. I've been dealing with children, the most vulnerable children, those who have been neglected by their parents, those who have been abused. It takes time and these children to heal, because mostly I've been privileged to be dealing with such children who are really traumatized either by the community or their own parents. And you find that most of these parents, they don't have time for the children. For them, their duty is to produce. At the end of the day, you find that children survive on their own. But I think it's high time we come back to our senses and raise these children as they are supposed to be. Because a child who is not well nurtured will not be a good citizen tomorrow. So I hope we shall have a good time as we discuss. Yeah.
Interesting. Agwang Aida, welcome.
Thank you so much, Amon.
Today we are giving testimonies and we are helping the communities transform.
Okay. My two colleagues, Barbara and Brian, have spoken very well on this issue, and I'm not going to build upon that because they are specialists in their areas. I want to speak about my experience working with children. I have worked with children from 2013. I worked at Malaika Babies Home, which now is Charles I Foundation. At Malaika Babies Home, we used to take in abandoned children and look for Ugandan families to foster and adopt those children. With time, as we took in these children and placed them in Ugandan families, we noticed that even the children we picked as babies, who at the time didn't know what was happening, some of them, not all of them, later on we saw when they grew up, that because of the trauma of how they were picked, the trauma hid in them somehow, and when they grew up, they started to act up in different ways. We had a case of a young boy who, if you looked at the home where he was placed, you'd think that he has everything that you would want. But the boy would leave home during holidays very early. By 6, he doesn't have breakfast. He comes back home late by 7 every day. The mother brought him to us. We had to get him a counselor, and I'm sure Brian has had similar cases. We had to get him a counselor, and the boy didn't have a rational reason for why he was acting up this way. But Brian has spoken about nurturing and nature, the environment. From when we were young, we internalize things as children, and these things sometimes show up when people become adults. So it's very important, especially during the holidays, for parents, one, to spend time with their children. And how do we spend time with our children? We can say, okay, I'm going to be home with my child, but you're not present. These days with WhatsApp, with the phones, with everything, you're there with the child, you're also in your corner, the child is also doing their own things. The holidays are time for you now to get to know your child inside out. What is your child? Like my colleague Barbara said, every child is different, and no one parenting style is the same. You may have 2 children, even twins are different, by the way. One can be an extrovert and the other is an introvert. So how do you parent those children? How do you speak to them? I am a single mother. I've been a single mother for 13 years. My daughter is in S2 now, and my son just finished P7. He's home. But I'm also lucky, I don't want to call it lucky, blessed to have a job that allows me to spend a lot of time at home. I work remotely. I decided in 2019 to not have a maid living with us because I wanted my children, one, to learn to do house chores, but also I wanted to get to know them. And so we walked that journey to date. My son, he's a man, but he does chores. He cooks. I want him to be a man who grows up to be self-sufficient and not bringing someone's daughter in future to make her do chores. What am I saying, dear listeners, as I conclude? I'm saying that it's very important for us to create an environment where, one, we bond with our children. We're the ones who brought them into this world. They are our responsibility. Bonding with our children can take different things, even doing chores together with them. But one key thing that we do in our household is we pray every day. We pray. We have time for devotion at 8, and we take turns leading. And when we're praying, every person who leads will take a scripture, come up with a devotion of the day and share. And when your children are sharing, by the way, you begin to know what kind of child you're raising, their thoughts, how they interpret things. And so for me, 2 key things in my home over the 13 years. Family is important, us as a family, but also we have, I want to call it a tribe. Sometimes I forget I'm a single mother. I live with my family within the same area. So my children have their uncles and aunties and nephews and nieces just a walking distance. So we have a tribe around them. 2, prayer, very key. In short, those are my thoughts on the issue, and I'm looking forward to this discussion. Over to you, Amon.
Interesting. I thank you for the experience that you've just shared. But looking at what we are seeing, especially in our communities, children tend to get so much spoiled during the holidays. Yes, in schools better, but because they are busy studying, and are very occupied, but also they tend to be disciplined, especially when it comes to the presence of teachers. So when they get out of school during the holidays, it is when they seem to have more time to do anything, whether silly or good, or because parents are sometimes not home, and even when parents are around, we tend to give them much freedom. I don't know whether this freedom is very important in terms of child nurturing or upbringing. I would love to get it from you, since you are working in different capacities, but also with the experience. Let me start with you again, Brian. Do you think that freedom that we have given to our children is important, especially in upbringing them, or upbringing better citizens, or better children, or better men and women, as Ida and Brenda put it?
Thank you, Amon. And there is no parent who is giving freedom, because parents themselves, they do not have freedom. If you are giving something that you have, you can give it in measures. There is no parent with freedom that he or she can share that freedom with a child. But I want us to look at the needs of a human being in all kinds. A human being has got needs according to the stages of growth. Childhood, adolescent, middle age, aged, and going forward. There are emotional requirements that a child would desire from time to time. A child of 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years will automatically desire something different from the one who is 10 and above. And all of them, those are the needs. A need is not something you are going to discuss or debate or quantify. If they need attention, if they need toileting training, if they need to be taught how to eat, sit and eat, pray, sit, eat, or eat, sit and pray. That is the input that a parent can do in the child at that very stage. But the freedom you are talking about is an excuse of failure to execute our responsibilities. That for those who have lived and stayed with our children, we'll give them what they can, and it is a copy and paste. That one of freedom, it is not there. The other important matter to discuss, Amon, is that when children are growing, they are in a world of mixed prints of information, and of which what they see is what matters to them. For example, today, I am not shy to tell that you can have a child of 3 or 4 years who has already started behaving like a parent. The baby will come and ask the father or the mother, but do you love my mother? With an intention to know really if you truly do what?
Love her.
Because she's feeling that gap in herself. So she doubts if she feels she's not loved. She feels that maybe even the mother is not loved. So we have, by the speed of technology and all that, we have parents who have left their children now to behave like parents, or we have children who have depicted characteristics of being parents at a tender age. Now, assigning responsibilities to children, like clean your brother, clean your sister, make sure he has what to put on, make sure they eat, make sure they sleep, it is something that you need to do with them, not them to do it alone. At the end of the day, those children will own those children as theirs. And if anything goes wrong, they feel hurt as responsibility takers, not as co-children, not as friends, not as siblings. They inherit. Now, we have children share stories because of schools, because of groups. Once a child hear a story from a friend about their home, they will take it to their home. And I keep telling everybody that when we get into this discussion, Amon, that to a child, something bad is the one that makes news. For example, if a child sees someone naked, she will run and tell somebody at home that I saw so and so was naked. But to see you smart is not news. And you look at how we dress today, especially to girls. Even mothers, if you go in the mirror and start turning around in the mirror, your son, your daughter is watching you. That is the story that child will take home. Today there is ease and free access of information, all kinds of information on radios, on TVs, in papers, on phones, everywhere. Things that you knew at 12 years, today, I will give an example. There is where I visited recently, and I had dressed like I am dressed now. But it required me to remove these clothes and put on an overall because I was visiting a farm, okay? In that home where I had gone, the child knew that a tie is put in the neck, a cap is put on top, the coat is dressed like this, and we all sat and wondered how this kid got to know that a tie is put in neck. And those who were staying with that kid, they said, perhaps she has never seen anyone here putting on a necktie. But for her, she knew where to put a necktie. That is some of the things you remember. Even when we were young, they would beat us to put on sandals very well. For us, it was interesting to put them either way. But today, child
Left to
at
right
2,
and right to left.
yes, that was how you would pose and make news.
Okay.
So, looking at controlling behaviors and shaping up children, it is entirely responsibility of parents. And Amon, as I come to the end of my submission, I want us to differentiate raising and rearing and parenting. Today, parents are rearing children; they are not parenting children. And
What is the difference?
And the results, the difference is in the results we are getting today. That you get a child of P7 who knows everything about him being a father, him being a mother, knows them both in theory and practicals. And that is the generation where we are. But then, how can we pay attention to this problem and solve it is the subject that I would wish us to concentrate next.
Interesting. Thank you, Brian. Barbara, is it really wise to allow our children be exposed to technology and the content that you are aware of what is available? Children these days have access to phones and computers at a actually 1 year, even month. A child cries and the mother would see her rush to get him or her a phone. Where does that leave the mind of our children when they are exposed to this kind of content and technology?
Thank you, Amon. Whatever comes in our way with modernity, there are certain things we cannot avoid, but there are advantages and disadvantages. These days, you find that children are given work to be done from the phones. But what we have to know that these children, as they grow, they are always anxious to learn. So you find like I always look at the children I stay with. A child of 3 years, when that child gets your phone, you can't imagine how quickly and how they can open up. And you find those ones of 6 years, someone tells you, it's supposed to be here, let's go to this and that. So children are being exposed. Technology is good.
Actually, they know the phones more than we do.
That is it. Yeah. These children, they need control. Unfortunately, we are not there to control them. Because when you are busy, you just wish that a child is given a phone so that it can be there and not disturb you. And at the end of the day, you find that these children are being exposed to so many things they are not supposed to see. For example, I have a friend of mine. He used to get these films and take home for children to look at. And the man used to collect Christian movies. One time when he went there, he was given as usual. He took them home and he didn't watch through. So he had gone somewhere only to come back. Everyone was in hiding. He said, what's going on? Children had watched a very bad movie. And for them, when they had him coming home, they decided to switch off and hide. Really, how did they know? Because he never brought such movies at home. But their mind was corrupted by that very movie. And at the end of that day, one of her daughters got some psychological effects. She could fall down. She spent some time without going to school because from time to time she was down, becomes unconscious like that. And it took really a lot of time to find that the cause was that movie. After a long time, about maybe a full year. So these children get corrupted like that. And we are supposed to if we are to give these children our phones, whatever, the computer, at least we need to be there to guide them and be near them. I usually tell people that the best way to get out what is within your child is to let them speak whatever nonsense, whatever they feel on their mind before you. Yeah, if they open.
Interesting. Speaking of the same, in the zit after COVID-19, it was so very common and featuring in news, where one of the household was overwhelmed by the news when a brother impregnated the sister. And when they were asked what they got that kind of behavior, they said they watched it on TV, and so they practiced what they wanted to see. I now come to you, Aida. At what age should, they saw it on their phones. At what age should we allow our children to own or use these phones?
Thank you.
If children have started to impregnate themselves.
I think that's a very good question. And I want to take it back to us as parents. I think at the end of the day, it also begins with us. Charity begins at home. You've mentioned the example of the siblings who ended up conceiving, and they watched this on TV. I want to believe by the time the children were able to have children themselves or get pregnant, they were at an age where they could understand certain things. I know that in our society, we live in a society where certain topics are taboo. If you come from my generation, some of these things, we never even had them until we were much older, even in university for some of us. But we also cannot change the fact that this is a fast-changing world. I held my first phone in university. Children are born into technology. There's internet, there's Wi-Fi, everything is within their fingertips. So First of all, as parents, we have to admit the world is fast changing. Technology is not going anywhere. And some of the things these children know these days, we don't even know. We don't know. They have access, they can tamper with your phone. Even if you put the parental controls, they know how to bypass those things, those apps. So you can't monitor what they are looking at. So one, as a parent, it goes back to what Brian says. Your presence in the home. Are you really present? Are we just rearing, or what did he call it? Raising, or?
Rearing.
Raising, rearing, parenting.
And we are supposed to do parenting.
We are supposed to be parents. Are we parenting our children?
Now we are rearing.
Now we are rearing.
Our children are more like rabbits.
Yeah, because if you're not at home, and let me tell you something, even if you keep away these gadgets from these children in your house, a neighbor or someone, a relative, they will access those gadgets. So, teaching your children boundaries. Start talking to your children when they are young. I will admit that my daughter is a firstborn, and when my daughter, I started talking to my daughter because I have a child protection, child advocacy background, and I was working with child psychologists and counselors. I started talking to my daughter about bad touches when she was in P3. But her school also was teaching her, and I'll mention the school because it has really groomed my children. My children both went to Victorious Education Services. By P5, they had started teaching them in a Christian environment, bad touches and all these things. And so by the time my daughter was in P5, she knew what to do, what it was and all that. As a mother, I'll say that I got my daughter a phone in P7. So some people will say, how? But I also know my daughter's character, and I know the kind of person she is. She's actually, funny enough, not interested in technology, but we needed the phone to keep in touch. Her brother on the other side, we share my phone. One, it's one way of me also going and checking and seeing what he's been looking at. And also seeing, we talk about things. We share my phone. He's on vacation. I have no plans of buying him a phone or anything anytime soon. But I think at the end of the day, technology is not going anywhere. Let's parent our children. Let's also know our children and talk to them. Thank you.
Interesting.
Amon, as I want to, with your intelligence, I wanted to start from Ida. Mm-hmm. Even as we discuss this important topic, you find even the listeners, all people's mind now when we discuss this, they are looking at a girl child. Even when I study the mind of people I have in the studio now, their discussion is on the girl child. And I am sorry, but that's, if they, am I lying?
But go ahead. No, absolutely.
I'm not lying. Children are children. What has befallen us is that now children are only girls. Boys are not children. And that's why I told you I saw a divided mind. I sensed a divided mind in the discussants that they are talking about a girl child, not children. And I want to take it from there, Amon and listeners, that these girls you are preparing, these girls we are raising and parenting and preparing to be good citizens. At the end of their lives, they will need partners. And if partners are not made, raised, and parented well, this girl will go to waste.
They empower the girl.
These girls will go to waste. When I have been a counselor now 8 years, and I have also been a counselor to myself for the rest of my life, because in the beginning my life was built on pain. And that alone, if I am speaking, if I ever come across a child who is of a single parent, be it a father, be it a mother, I have trust in that person, me, myself. Not because I am of that background, but I have full testimonies and real results on how those children end up their lives.
I was
They
going
are-
to ask you, why is it that children that are raised by single parents tend to be more behaved and live a better life compared to those that have grown in two hands?
If I answer it rightly, then I will advocate for single parenting. You may live here and chase your wife and say, let me now raise my children alone. So Amon, that one is not true. It is only by luck that children who grow with the single parent are limited to some privileges. So in that way, the limitation and disadvantages end up making them stronger. But they are not any better than the rest of the children. So it is not true that they do, but they are lucky. I will tell you, Amon, today you have a screen at home which is worth 2 million. You have cables, you have wires, you have DSTV, which you subscribe every month, 270. You leave home at 8. You come back home at 7. The only time you switch on TV is to watch news, which takes 30 minutes. Okay? The TV is for 2 million. This TV is for 270. Let us sit back and see now how we behave as parents, because these things are exposed to children to use them. Why must you? What is the if you are a parent, you are not benefiting from a screen TV which is at home. What do you want your child to benefit from it? You bought it with your sweat. You never pay time to watch it, but you are giving it to your child. What do you want the child to do it with?
All right.
Now, if that one is happening that way, then I want us to look at one element in family setup. How do parents communicate to each other, a mother and a father? And how do you descend now? How do you descend your communication to children? How do you handle them together? Because these children will behave exactly the same way you behave, and will do exactly the same thing you do, whether at home or outside home.
All right.
Ida talked of boundaries. Boundaries must be limited with toughness. If you are telling a child, once I have put my phone there, my phone is my phone, it's not your phone, and you have no permission even to ask me to touch it. If you want to get something, tell me I look it for you, I give it to you. If it is on the phone you want to search, you have been given a coursework. But even these things are limiting our children from thinking.
Yeah, sure.
I got 5 in P7. I got 9 at S4. I never held a phone until even I finished university myself. I was cooking myself in my room. I used to buy 50 kilograms of posho every time I report at campus.
Now we need the noodles.
Because much as I was on government, I had other responsibilities.
I dare you to buy posho for campus this time.
Today at home, my brothers and sisters, now when they come and they open dishes, they first open before they arrange their appetite. They cover and you see them off. You'll see them off. You come and take that food to pigs or to animals, other animals. They have particular food that they want to eat, and it is not about hunger.
And they always order you to do that meal. Today we want to eat this.
For us who are in Kampala, when we go in the village, we are not received for anything else unless you have come with packages, bread, noodles, sausages, and everything.
All right.
So that kind of conditioning, I think parenting needs to be parenting, not to be a practice. Yeah.
Okay. Ida.
Yes.
Gone are the days when we used to sit and wait for the food, whatever kind of food that was prepared for us. But these days,
For sure.
Kids tell us what to eat, what they want to eat, and whether we will have money or we don't have, we have to make sure that we are prepared. If we don't, then a child would say, "I hate you, mommy."
True.
Get back to his or her bedroom, close that, slam that door, close it, lock it, start crying. Mothers would find themselves behind that door, crying, praying, begging for that child to open for them. And if they dare to help them open the door, you'd find the mother or the father kneeling on that very bed, asking for that child for forgiveness. Where is this going to end? And where is it taking this country?
Wow. That is very interesting. That never happens in my house. We are raising, and I'm beginning to see this in the workplace now. We are raising a generation of entitled children who become entitled employees. For us who are 40 and above, who are in the workplace, you will notice that this, and I'm not saying all of them, but many of these young millennials, when they come and you're working with them, they are very entitled. When they come, they want a very nice office, everything set up. They want to do work within their timelines. You can clearly know someone who was born above 1980, how they do their work. They know how to take orders or instructions. They're accountable. They're good at beating deadlines. But you can also see this generation that has been pampered, who have been raised to know that they're the center of attention. When they ask, the parents run and give. And sometimes as parents, we overcompensate because we know we're not at home all the time. So when the child asks for money, you give without even asking what it is for and any amount. You buy these expensive presents for children to play with, expensive phones, gadgets. Yeah? I will speak into my experience. When I look at a big number of the single mothers, most of them they're struggling. You have a household, you have to run it on a single income. You have school fees, you have food and all that. And so it's difficult. It's difficult. When I look at myself, I want to say I'm not so badly off. But I've also raised my children to know that if we're going to eat posh and beans today, nobody's going to complain. They eat and they go to bed very well. They know their seasons, and there will be seasons of good and seasons of bad. How am I preparing them for the future? My children will know how to travel in a taxi or in a border, but they also know they have access to a car. But on any given day, I know that they are able to get on a taxi and sit and get to a destination. If we have posho and beans, like I've said, they know that they have to eat that food and be thankful that they have a meal that day. They know there are children out there who do not have enough. But they also understand that it's a single income household, that there are other bills, that you have to pay. And even, by the way, when my children are making their school lists, they know the pocket money that I don't go above. There's a limit. And sometimes I laugh with my daughter. She says, "Do you know that some parents give their children 500,000 for pocket money?" And I laugh and say, those are their parents. I have a limit that I don't go over because I was also raised in a modest way, and I think I turned out well. So it's just, at the end of the day, us parents again, we were not raised that way. Why are we pampering our children like that at this level?
All right.
Yes.
Whenever we have holidays, especially the long ones, like this one that we are about to enter, children or holiday makers tend to come with what they call proggies. I don't know whether we are all familiar with the word. Programs. They have camping, they have tours, they have friends to visit, they have some relatives to visit, and perhaps they only tell the parents about these proggies. Not that they are asking for permission, but as if they are only informing us. How can we, the parents, involve in their proggies to make sure that they are promoting better, good practices, not the bad ones? Because from these proggies, like camping, tours, and visits, that's when they are into drugs, alcoholism, and sometimes
Come on, let
they
me
end.
receive you before you run.
I wanted to have Barbara first before I come to you.
And Barbara will come in shortly. Let me receive you.
Okay.
That very program you are talking about, what all parents have forgotten to know is that it is a business of other people. Very important that schools would love children to keep engaged and intact and connected with them, because that's how they will keep them in their business. If they are coming back to school for the camp, they are keeping with the school, and there are people who are benefiting in that business. So to organize a camp, to organize a tour, to organize fellowships, to organize conferences is one way. The other one is keeping his income alive. And it is a pressure on parents which is not controlled. Then some schools, it is the only way they can limit parents from knowing what is happening in their children, because they will not now share stories every time they are occupied with school work, school activities, and all that. So the parent, that's why you get shocked at senior 4. You discover your child tells you, I have been on drugs since P7, and doesn't look like a person who has ever used any drug.
Okay.
They are very sophisticated, very calculative. They know when parents, because parents have timetable when they are coming home and when they are home for the whole day. So to stay the whole day without using a drug, or not to take at 8 or 9 in the evening, those are some timetables they can be knowing, and you will not know until it is out of your hand. I wanted to receive that way.
Interesting.
Barbara, I'm sorry.
Barbara,
It's okay. Yeah, what we have
proggies,
to-
if they tell you they have visits, they are going to visit friends, they are going to visit relatives, should you as a parent be concerned about these programs that your children come along with, especially when it comes to holidays?
Yeah, as a parent, it's a must that you should know where your child is going. For me, as I was growing up, my mother used to do one thing. All other children from our neighbors could come and play from our place. And my mother had it that from there she can control others, because she doesn't know how other parents do control their children. So she can control, and you could hear her saying, for you are indisciplined, go back home, go back to your home, until when you get good manners, then you come back to us. So I don't think parents should allow their children to owe whatever they wish to do. Because really, first of all, as a parent, you should know exactly the friends to your children. You should know their homes. You should get in touch to know these parents, where these children come from, what do they believe in. So you may be like you're a Christian, and you end up with a family. For them, they are not Christians, and you want your child to grow in a Christian way. So if you just let your child do whatever the child wants, then you will not gain anything.
Are you in any way saying that me as a parent, I'm concerned about the kind of friends my children associate with?
Very much so, because when you know exactly the friends to your children, then you can still guide your child the best way to go. Because you find a child is getting with a child for them, they go clubbing, they do what, and yours, you are not interested in such. That's not a good companion for your child. So you should limit their movements, and you have to be frank to them and tell them this is the way to go. We as a family, this is our norms. We don't go to such parties, we don't do like this, like that. So children should abide by the rules in the home. Don't just come and tell me I'm going to a party this way, like that. Because there are certain things you are supposed to do even when you are in holidays. You have to work at home. You have to... There are certain things you are supposed to do, not just to roam about. Because at the end of the day, if they end up in danger, and you are the one to suffer. So parents there, we have to limit the movements of our children, and strictly we have to know where our children go exactly and when. And by the way,
are we not going to be over limiting them, and that's how they will start escaping, especially when we are not at home?
When you do it without explanation.
And another thing, the way you bring out these children matters a lot. Because when I'm there at home or when I'm not there, there are certain times when a television has to be on. So even if I'm not at home and I just drop in, when the time is not yet for the television, it's not on, because that is how I brought these children to be like. So parents should bring up their children the way they want them to grow.
Yes. As she will say, Mommy is visiting my friend very bad. We are going to meet as friends, then we are going to come back.
Also, that one depends on the age, by the way. As I've told you, children, as a parent, it's you are supposed to know the parents of the other child, who is related to, who is your child's companion. So whatever happens, if your child is going to that family, then the other family must be in the know. And it has to be.
So you're going to request for the numbers of the other parents and call them?
We have to be in touch with that family.
In a situation where a child or a friend to your child comes home, do we allow them to chat freely? Sometimes they go in their bedrooms, close themselves and talk, or perhaps go into the gardens and they want to be left alone. Can we pick... is it okay to poke our nose into their jazz and what they are talking about?
Yeah, as I've told you, like for us as we are growing, our playmates used to come home. And even now, when my girls are there, when they bring their friends at home,
you tell them to play around you.
They are there.
They have to keep
Not
in
really.
there.
If they come to our home, now it's good they have grown. But if their friends are coming home, there are times when I just enter into the sitting room. They're not supposed to be in the bedroom. What are they discussing in the bedroom? It has to be in a sitting room.
Open space.
Yes. Anyone can enter and go like that. So that's a healthy relationship.
All right. Aida,
Yes,
I'm
please.
glad you have both sex children, a girl and a boy. Would you allow your child, especially to bring opposite sex? If as a girl, a boy is visiting, and you are introduced to this friend, and you let them talk, especially at your home, or even give them time to interact? Or that will be limiting and infringing on their rights.
That for me, that is, I'll go back to the way I was raised. Up until a certain age, I wasn't allowed to bring anyone of the opposite sex
At home.
But my children
But
are
that
both...
is a long time.
My children are both in mixed schools. And I must say that, for example, the last time I went to visit my son, he introduced me to his friends. Some of them were girls. Now, for the boys...
How was the reaction
to
from your
meeting
side?
them? I've been to mixed schools of my life. That was fine. The boys have met their parents, and I've spoken to their parents, and I have their parents' numbers. But for me, the hard limit would be inviting, unless if it's a group thing. And I want to be very clear. Personally, and this is my rule, other parents maybe are flexible. I don't allow my children to go for sleepovers. to other places. But we host. We host my daughter's friends. They come, girls, and my son's friends.
And
the
they
boys.
also don't sleep over.
They don't sleep over, but we host. But that is my personal rule. Every parent has their way of parenting. So to answer your question, to have a girl or girls over, my son having a girl would be a hard no for me, especially at his age. I don't believe it will serve a purpose in any way.
All right.
Yes.
This is UBC Ground Zero. We are live on 4 radio stations covering entire Uganda. Magic 100 FM in the central Uganda, Butebo Radio in eastern Uganda, Western Nile FM in Western Nile, covering parts of all parts of Lango sub-region, Acholi sub-region, Teso sub-region, and Karamoja sub-region. We're also live and clear on UBC Red. Ampaira Amonotega is my name, and I have a very big privilege and honor to have a very special team of guests in the studios of UBC. We have Ogwang Aida is the PR specialist, is coming from Compassion International Uganda. We have Barbara Msinguzi is the social worker and coming from Shared Love Uganda. And we also have Brian Alnetwe is a psychiatrist and also a psychology counselor coming from Chambogo University and Nakasero Hospital. We're talking about promoting best practices during school holidays. 0776-511-426 is the number that you can call and be part of the conversation. How best should we raise our children for a better future, for better citizens, better men and women? Or 0701 24 26 47 is the number that you can send on your messages. Keep them coming through. I'll be reading one by one. In case you want to call, it's 0776 511 426. Brian, sex education. Most of us have been sharing our experiences when we were growing up, but I don't think it is the same way we're going to be parenting our children.
True.
Because times have changed. There is a lot that has taken place from the time you were born up to this time. You don't expect to walk in the same shoes, your child to walk in the same shoes that you did. Sex education. Everyone has been sharing their experiences. My mother used to do this, my father used to do this. At home, we never used to do that. But this time, sex education, we have left it to teachers and maids. If you see a very rare behavior in your child, you will tell a maid, when did this start happen? How does Amon do this? You have not been watching him for these days. You blame the maid for not paying attention to your child. We have also left our children in the hands of teachers. Actually, our children fear teachers and respect them more than the parents these days. If you realize something bad in your child, you will say, I will report you to teacher Becky. And you will see a very humble child, and she will even come and humble himself to say, I'm sorry, daddy, or I'm sorry, mommy. Let me get back to you if you may allow me to get this caller. You're live on UBC. You're live and clear on UBC. Hello? UBC? Maybe you can call again. Call again on 776-511-426. We shall be able to get in touch with you. Yes, Brian. Sex education.
Yeah.
We are scared, we are ashamed, we are offended to say, come to sit your children and say this is bad, this is good. Especially when it comes to sex.
This is a naked truth. Children have not grown sexual organs today. Everyone has grown with sexual organs.
That's true.
I don't know, and I don't see where that sex education should come in. There are principles of living. There are principles of families. Our parents had sexual organs the same as we have. There is no difference. You see, when we fantasize something, you interest someone to know about sex education. And it will be very hard for someone to know about sex and don't do sex. If a 12-year child has studied about sex, will want to know or to do it. So I am among the people who are against that sex education, but I am up and in support to raise children on principles that grow to be a responsible citizen, grow to be a responsible human being. Account for your time of being on earth. Account for your discipline. Account for your education, and account for being my son or my daughter. This is clear. You see, Amon, we have to admit that some people are making business out of our errors. If you mishandle your child, Brian will get a job as a counselor to counsel your child, and very expensively.
Get in touch with this caller. Hello? UBC? UBC,
Hello.
you are live and clear.
Yes, good morning.
A very good morning to you. Your name and
Hello.
where are you calling us from?
Yes, please, good morning.
A very good morning to you. Your name and where are you calling us from?
I'm Irene calling from Neg.
Nebi. Your concern, please.
Yes, please.
Your concern, please.
All right, I'm a teacher by profession.
Mm.
And my concern is, when we send these children from school to home, we always guide them to stay with their parents, to know their parents, because most parents don't have time with their children. They're always for work, children at school. Again, now when they reach home, we begin telling them, go to this place, go to this place. At what time will you have your time to train your children at home, the parents? For us, we teachers, we give what we have to children. Also, parents have to give what they have, because in educating a child, we collaborate. It is a teacher, the child, and the parent. So when we send them home, we expect the parents to play their role as parents at home, not sending them again to someone else. It's not necessary.
Mm. All right. Thank you, Irene. And we are glad
Thank
that
you.
you are doing that noble role as teachers. UBC, Ground Zero, we are live on 4 radio stations. 0776 511 426 is the number you can call, or you keep your messages coming through on 0701 24 26 47. How can we promote best practices during school holidays? You have heard from a teacher. I am glad that Irene, you called from Nebi and you shared your experience as a teacher, and she's calling upon we parents to take up our role and play it. Yes, Brian, you are still concluding on that.
I was telling you, I was telling listeners that when you don't do your role, now you prepare money for Brian to do counseling to your child on small things that you would have done yourself. And Amon, we have to admit that there is social breakage on the level of families. Today, you cannot trust your brother or your sister, either your elder sister or your young sister, and he also cannot trust you with his children. Because the only way people now have seen to finish families is through children. Their focus is on the children than parents, because parents may not have time or you may not have access to them.
Mm.
The other thing is we have not lost it all. I want us to look at 3 areas. One, how come children of the poor make it? That is a concern for us to learn from. How come most children of the civil servant, especially those in schools, make it? How come children of the single parenting children make it? And then these ones who have got everything at their disposal, who have got money, who have got luxury life, they fail to make it with that all kind of support. The entire problem is on how parents respond to the needs of their children, both emotional needs, physical needs, and social needs. These children do not require your money, do not require your nice dress, they require your attention and your understanding. You have to give them time. Study their behavior. There are children, for example, who are very paranoid. We have to look at the disorders. We have mental breakdown in children. That's why today you have a lot of suicide in children, and you see suicide communicates. You can know that this one has signs or is showing symptoms of suicide when they break off from the family. They want to isolate themselves. They want to eat alone. They don't want to talk. They don't want to work with others. And for you, you take it as a discipline now that so and so now is quiet. I think they have changed, but yet they are withdrawing. They are withdrawing from being known. Then there is also this world of unknown. When children are growing, they are always anxious. They have that anxiety. For example, a child is very anxious to join puberty. Start using pads, putting on a panty, using shavers, having breasts. They want to see those organs and know how they work and their importance. It is you who has been there to help them grow and benefit from their growing, not them to discover
by themselves.
Because you know the impact, you know the effect, you know the problem that comes with growing. Let me tell you, Amon and listeners, and the people in the studio, when you know something and you don't tell those who don't know that something that you know, and you have not let them know what you know, and yet you are the one who is supposed to help them know what they don't know, and you have not done it, know that you are applying for hell with fire, which is hotter than that one of the devil. Because you have not done your responsibility, there is no way how I will sit in a community where I have a responsibility that I know I am raising an important child. And then I start playing around when I know the problems of the society. The other important matter on this very subject, Amon, and which I don't want us to take lightly, is that we have to admit that due to social breakages of our families and social setup, we have left children vulnerable to grow on their own. Today, children wake up and go to look for their food. Today, children participate in looking for their fashion, what to put on whose party. I recently was invited on a school for P7 Rivers party. Children were dressed like parents. And
whereas parents were putting on like
parents, I asked parents, how come you have not come with lipsticks? Children were putting 7 layers on their skin. P7. They had very serious shoes. And I asked even some of the parents, they said they never believed that their children had these clothes. And it's true, they had them. The other important matter finally is gifting. Our children have been used to being gifted with big things. A family can go on strike because of a birthday. Just a birthday. Mommy, am I going to eat
the cake?
You know, we as parents, we have not done our responsibility. As parents, we have not done what we are supposed to do. Children have nothing to do with the way they behave today, but we have something to do with the way they behave. And it is until we fully take these responsibilities that we shall have productive Ugandans, that even we shall benefit from the children that are within our community. Short of that, this discussion is yet to continue.
All right. Interesting. If you may allow me read some messages coming in from the listeners. John Makumbi says, kids of these days, they don't want to work but they want to earn, and this has been one of the serious concerns that is destroying them. We also have Joan Merembe is listening in from Bokoto. Says, do single mothers tend to, and fathers tend to have much of their attention to their children, but when it comes to those who have both parents, every parent, a man that believes that the mother is parenting, whereas the mother also is saying that it's the right of the dad, and that's how they end up spoiling their children, leaving their role to be played by each by the other partner, yet none of them is playing any. And also someone says is Okeba or Okeb, I don't know, I failed to pronounce this word, but you're listening in from Arua, and you say there is so much to talk about parents when it comes to conjugal rights. Some parents have small houses, and when they're about to have sex, they don't mind about their children in the house. Gone are the days when we would be chased away from home to be playing outside or far from home when parents wanted to enjoy themselves. Keep your messages coming through. I'll be reading one by one. Allow me to go back to studios. Allow me to start with this Okeba. I don't know whether it is Okeba, but you're listening in from Alua. And now I bring you Barbara. When it comes to conjugal rights, I want to enjoy my wife, or my wife wants to enjoy when it comes to these rights, but we don't mind that we have children in the house. How should we behave when it comes to that, especially during the holidays? We've been enjoying this, but now that we are expecting visitors from schools, how best can we control ourselves?
Oh, that comes when you are maybe in a single room or two. That's really a challenge. But when you're a parent, one thing you should know, that your life has other people to nurture. So you have to be very careful with how you do yourself. Like, as someone was saying, people used to send children away, like in the market. You can send them to the well. If you feel like you can't go without it, you send them to the well. Then you do your thing. Then when they are back, you have done everything. But for God's sake, these children are very anxious, and from whatever they see from the televisions, from the radios, from anywhere, with this modernity, our children are so anxious. They always want to know why your dad sleeps with your mom. For us, as we are growing up, we never even stepped in our father's bedroom without their permission. By these days, you find the children sleep with their parents in their bedroom. So being in the same bedroom with your children, you have to be well disciplined. And for God's sake, if these children are there, find another time. Maybe you send them somewhere.
As he says, gone are the days when we'll be sent to fetch water or fetch firewood.
You can still do it.
In town, there is no way you can fetch firewood. Even water is in the house.
But for God's sake, you can send them somewhere, even to the shops there,
or to the neighbor,
or to the neighbor. But for God's sake, you don't do your things when the children are there.
Thank you. Alex Luba says, hey, good morning, UBC. Children should be taught about sex so that they know upshot from it when willy-nilly. And also someone says, hello, this is Adowa Stephen listening in from Amuru district. Sex education is good, but needs us parents to have time with our children to tell them what sex means and its effect on young children. Thank you. Okay, you too, thanks. This one says, Monzima from Obongi, Maduga. Obongi, Maduga. Thank you for the topic. it is true single parent child has little respect compared to the double parents and stay in the single rooms. All right. Serious concerns coming from the people of Uganda who are listening to us from different places in this country. And someone says, how can we, children-headed families, have issues when it comes to living better life? They tend to mind about so much about how to live, but they have left a lot also on the behaviors because they want to make themselves live for the day. That's how they have been able to involve in bad behaviors as well, like sex and many others. Indeed, this is a serious concern coming from the people of Uganda. I would love also to talk about kids who don't work but they want to earn. And this is also a serious concern when it comes to nurturing. Ida.
Yes.
How best can we handle this? That's how someone, especially when it comes to our sisters, when he is given 10,000, he will not forget that AIDS is there. He will forget that sleeping with a man on that 10,000 shillings will cost that pregnancy or many other effects that may come along.
But on the first line, earning is a principle.
Earning is a principle of life.
And money is good. So.
Oh wow. And yeah, I want to agree with Brian. Earning is a principle of life and money is good. Money makes so many things easy. Generally, it makes life move. So let us not villainify money, make it look like it's a bad thing. But how can we also teach our children to be responsible when it comes to money? To spend it, you have to earn it and be accountable.
Which one is good money? Which one is bad money?
Which one is good money and which one is bad money? He puts it up so well. Which one is good money and which one is bad money? You know that the money that you earn and spend well, you feel good even spending it. Even when you sleep at night, you sleep so well knowing this is my money, I earned it and I've put it to good use. But again, it goes back to parenting. And you know, when Brian was talking, I was just listening to him and saying, oh, I still have a lot to learn, you know, as a parent. We need to teach our children these principles from home. I remember growing up, I am the first girl, and we are 2 girls and 4 boys. But my father made it, and I think he was deliberate, he made it a priority that I knew, me and my sister, we knew that we valued in that household. We had some seasons where finances were tough, and the boys would stay at home, the girls would go first to school, then the boys would come later. But even as I grew up, when I went to university, Makerere University, on day program, I was doing mass comm. I remember the first semester I went to school, and that was way back. I think it was 2000. I went with pocket money of 1 million to school. And it wasn't because my father was wealthy or anything, but he knew the challenges and the temptations that came with campus. And he didn't want me to lose my focus, you know, those small things. But my father also was very deliberate when we were growing up, taking us to these places once in a while, so that when you grow up, you don't, you know, a man comes and, you know, takes you to Sheraton and you get wowed, and that's a big deal, and you lose your morals. So as a parent, what have I also done as a single parent? Of course, I know it's a challenge in a single household, but there are some things that I do for both my children. Birthdays in our homes are celebrated to show them that I value them, and we make it a big deal. We go to a place of your choosing, and we really plan it. We go to a place of your choosing, you get what you want, you get presents, you're celebrated. When my daughter and both my son are around, once a month we go somewhere nice, because I don't want them to grow up and someone will come and just, you know, take you to this place and you get wowed, and that's a big deal, and you fall in this temptation of money and all that. But even as we do that, I teach them that hard work matters. Money doesn't come easy. Money doesn't come easy. And my son right now, like I said, is in P7 VAC. I work in communications. Both of us are passionate about IT, technology. So because I work from home a lot, he has also started learning, doing small things, graphics, he's doing coding, and I'm teaching him that these are skills that you can develop to make money. How? Because he sees that as part of my work, I do graphic design. So he knows, that eventually this will be a skill that will bring in money. We will do small projects and the money will come, and I'll tip him because he supports me as well at home. So I think, one, it goes back to us as parents, that what values are we instilling into our children? Let our children not grow up to say the things when they leave home and they get, diverted. But also, like Brian said, and I want to agree, they need to know good money and evil money.
All right.
Yes.
Brian, on the same, but I will also, as you also address how kids want to money, but they don't want to work, I'll also get your comment on that. But I would love you to give us some tips, if I can call them tips. How can I discover that my child is on drugs?
Wow.
You've pointedly said that you discover when he's in senior 4, but in actual sense, he started when he was in P7. As a parent, as a caretaker, as a guardian, is there any way, psychologically, are there those skills that I can discover that my daughter, my boy, perhaps could be on drugs? Because so many families have been affected. In 10 families that you go into, at least you cannot fail out of the 10 children within that household or family, one being addicted to drugs, either alcoholism or the other drugs.
You just said here, many families are struggling to have their conjugal rights because of the presence of children. The same efforts you want to do it in the absentia and cover of their known is the same knowledge they are using to make sure you don't know what they are doing. So you are in the struggle. The children are in the struggle to do what they like most, and the parents are also in the struggle to do what they deserve to do together. I am very lucky to have studied the course I studied, and more especially to have mastered it very well on how it functions. I think my life is very easy, and I hope even my life to continue with those that may come in my life will be easy. Amon and listeners, I would like to tell you, at what point did children become a burden to parents? Because I think that's an important question to ask ourselves. When did children start being a problem of a parent? It is then when parents focused on other things, which is not children. Because the families without money have raised children, important children. Families without birthdays have raised children. Where are you for? Amon, are you not important, really?
Sure. And I've lived my life without celebrating happy birthdays.
Are you lacking anywhere?
Until I came to Kampala.
Why do we want to look at hybrid children?
But we must know that also seasons and times have changed. The life I lived may not be the same life my child may live these days.
That one is highly welcomed, Mr. Amon and listeners. But then don't you know good for yourself? Can't we discuss how good it is to have good children who are raised in harsh conditions? I do not see, and I don't advise, given an opportunity to advise, for parents to be soft or to be easy on things they know that spoil their children. I have said at home, nobody is allowed to touch the phone, either here or away from home. These children listen. It is about condition. I have told you, Amon, we do these things with explanation. For example, I was not raised to sleep outside. And one was, when you sleep outside, you get scabies, you get they look warmth,
Ringworms.
ringworms.
Okay.
You
I would love us to help
those
us,
things.
Brian, I would love you to help us know and discover when these children are using drugs.
Now that's where I'm heading.
'Cause
They
time is
are
against us.
they are behaviors. One, when you see children withdrawing from sharing everything with you the way they are, then they have got someone to depend on for their explanation and attention. Number two, when you get to know whose friends your children part with, the group, the associates, the playmates, you are able to identify how they behave. So it gives you a picture on how your child behaves. Number three, you have to be very careful and keen on the schools where we send our children. Most of the schools we have had in newspapers and in publications and in what are big schools.
So we should send them to lower schools?
No, I am only saying pay
Moderate
attention.
schools.
I am only saying pay attention.
Mm.
I had the privilege to interact with one of the schools. I was called as a counselor.
All right.
A very big school. But after the sessions, so we were given now students, they were coming in groups. We have children who are in senior 1, senior 2, senior 3, and our parents. They are there. How do these children access drugs? These children are given a lot of money, which school staff members on teaching staff and non-teaching staff that want that money. They are the very people that bring, that allows, that makes it soft for these children to access these drugs. When children are coming back from school, check them, check their suitcases, take them to the hospitals, check them very well, assess their mental well-being. Try to ask, the children have little to hide, especially when you show them that they are important. They will tell you even what is disturbing in their lives, and they are things they are trying to overcome. But you see, today we cannot easily get such a parent. Then there is poverty. When these levels of poverty goes high, people try to look money in all ways. And that's how people end up selling these drugs to children.
Right.
Then there is also these campings we just talked about. One, going for sports. I did sports from primary up to university level, East Africa, and national level. I can draw back and see what we used it to do. There are things that we are told that once you use a lot of energy. Today you see, drugs, you are only looking at alcohol. Drugs, you are only looking at smoking. You are looking at cocaine. But even taking energy drinks, you want energy for what? Why should the child take rock boom?
Interesting.
Because
This is UBC.
because it is written on energy drink.
All
Why
right.
should one take Sting, Giant?
All right.
Those names, those drinks with big names. What do you want? Do you have a garden where you are going to dig and you need an energy drink? You don't forget.
Thank you.
Drugs have those people. Those drug sellers have extended drug supply in the most convenient way that even a parent may not understand
All
that the
right.
child is taking what?
Thank you.
Is taking a drug. Some are even extended in these cakes that we eat. When you go for celebration and you buy a cake from somewhere,
And
it
after
has
taking,
a component.
and after
After
taking a
taking,
cake,
you see a child jumping like as if he's a missile.
and you say how active he is. Anyway,
You
this
think it is
UBC.
happiness. Kumbe, it is hypertension.
UBC Ground Zero. We are live on 4 radio stations covering entire Uganda. UBC Radio, UBC Magic, UBC Butebo, and UBC Western Nile. We are talking about promoting best practices during school holidays. We have Brian Alnitwe, is a psychology counselor and also psychiatrist coming from Chambago University and also at Nakasero Hospital. Babula Msinguzi is the social worker coming from Shared Love Uganda. and a privilege to have Ogwang Aida is a PR specialist coming from Compassion International, Uganda. Amon Obtega is my name. Barbara,
Yes.
how can we help the vulnerable children in our households, in our communities, and in this country? Someone says also, Alex sends in a message, Alex Luba says, how can I help my friend who is pregnant and she doesn't want her parents to know, and she's worried, and who impregnated her got lost. What can I do? It is from that message that I ask you, Barbara, as a mother, as a concerned citizen in this country, and for the benefit of the listener and someone who is there, especially the parent, also even that child who is listening to us. Maybe she was raped, maybe was impregnated, as Alex put it right, and who is responsible for the pregnant is no more. And there are so many also who have lost children. We have children-headed families. How can we help these children?
Okay, thank you, Amon. First of all, one thing, I'm starting with that one who is pregnant. What has happened has already happened. That much she has to know. And it's irreversible. Whatever she's thinking of, she should think of the pregnancy and how to manage the pregnancy, other than thinking of the pregnancy not being there, because it's already there. First thing I'm seeing in that is that the child doesn't want the parent to know, because first of all, they don't have a good relationship anyway. Because if the mother is there, at least that girl would have confided in the mother as the first person. And secondly, this very friend of hers has to know that this child needs a lot of help, not even from her or him, but even from other counselors.
Yes.
Because really, when someone is so desperate like that, she can do anything. We have seen children losing their lives just because they acted badly. And others who have been handled well have managed to be with their pregnancy. They have produced and gone back to school. So it's a sensitive issue. So let her not deal with that case alone. If the mother if they are not as of now willing to talk to the mother, let them get another person they can confide in so that they can be helped. And with the time, the parents will be told anything anyway. But she needs that. And one thing I'm just telling that friend, that they should not think about anything near abortion. Yeah.
And Amon, just to jump in, since we're here to help, this is a show that people are calling in to ask questions and help. I think there are also organizations that support cases like that, teenage pregnancies or young mothers. One of the places is Wakisa Ministries. If this person is not able to afford counseling or help, Wakisa Ministries. There's also another institution that's being set up in Mbara that is going to be helping teenage mothers or young mothers. It's called the German-Uganda Institute. So this person can look for some help from such organizations. They're out here.
All right.
Thank you.
Let's go straight to the way forward and solutions, as Aida and Barbara put it. We have gone to this, how can we help communities transform? How can we help those who are vulnerable, especially in our communities? How best can we engage the holiday makers? Because it is sometimes when they are free that they get tempted to do some things which are silly. We as parents, how can we, I don't know whether it is still there, but churches and some institutions in our communities, they had programs to engage holiday makers. You'd find the church within the community has had a very good program, either on training or on any other to engage them. I don't know whether they are still there. But how can government, how can we parents, how can these institutions like the churches and the mosques in the communities engage children to make sure that they are on a right path? Ida again.
Okay, so thank you so much, Amon. I'm going to speak on what Compassion International does. Compassion International is a Christian-based organization that works with over 481 churches throughout this country. And one of the things it does is it sponsors children's education, but also, like you said, they have these now during holidays, they have what they call center days, where children, based on their ages, they're split in different ages. The youth have their centers, they go, they're taught the Bible, they interact, they have counselors. So that is still going on. If you're anywhere near, Compassion is in Teso, it's in Neb. If you're anywhere near one of those churches and you have children on holiday, please work with a local church in your area and have them go there. But also, again, it goes back to, and I'm very grateful for this program, that we as parents, but also as professionals, need to continue creating awareness and advocacy. And this is one way, inviting professionals like Brian to talk to us as parents, to make us better parents. I think this is the way to go, and it shouldn't be a one-off. It should be continuous, because even as a parent, as I was sitting today and Brian was talking, I was learning so much. So just imagine if we continue having professionals, parenting professionals, teaching and coming and reminding us of our duties and responsibilities. I think we can do better. Third, parents, I know sometimes we get overwhelmed, but remember, you are the first role model in that home. When it gets heavy, and it's okay, it gets tiring sometimes, rest, get help if you can, but come back and know that this child was a choice. God chose you to parent that child. Let's take on our parenting responsibilities 100%. Thank you.
Your final comment?
That is my final comment.
Interesting.
Really. Yes.
Barbara, way forward and your parting shots.
Yeah. First of all, what I would like to advise all our parents and listeners, that we should put these children as our first priority. Yes. Because they are the future of tomorrow. And another thing, we should love these children, and they should know that they are loved. Yeah. When a child knows that you love that very child, the way, even if he is bad-mannered, he will just try to forge a way so that he can behave the way you would like that child to behave. So we should love them and always be free with them, show them the right way. Even if it's a bit hard, you may think the child doesn't like it, but be straight and tell them the truth about real life. Another thing, we should occupy them, because they are in the holiday. You have a shop in town. Why do you leave your child at home? You go with your child at the shop, and that child will know how money is made. You go to the village and you go to the garden and you leave them at home to cook. No, you go with them to the garden so that they can really know how food is made, how difficult it is, whatever. And even at home, let them be given work to do, because usually as the idle mind is the source of all evil. All right. So that's my advice to all listeners.
Before you end, also Alex Luba says, thanks, madam. I'm a boy child, but why do parents want me to be with boys only, as if my friends, and they don't accept me to visit to be with my friends who are girls? Yet my big number of my friends are girls, not boys. As you conclude, Mami Barbara.
Yeah. Like, okay, what I would like to tell that
Alex
is that for me, as I was growing up, the majority of my friends were boys. And even now, I have so many friends who are men. But it depends the way you relate. You should relate in a healthy way. That's all. But you can still be with girls
Okay.
and behave.
Interesting. Thank you, Barbara. Crossover to you, Brian. Your concluding remarks and last comments.
I want to say I'm lucky to have met Barbara and Ida. In my submissions, I've used you as my references. Listeners who are listening to UBC today, I don't like fantasizing things, especially when I get an opportunity to speak on the radio like this. I say what I know is good for the society. I don't follow what English says and letters of English. Life is different from living, and life is different from practicing. Every parent would like to have a child like you, Amon, like Barbara, like me. If you have got a child, then what you are remaining to do is to produce that person you want out of your child. If you don't do it, nobody is going to do it for you. Number 2, families. A man should love his wife. A wife should respect his husband. You will not give love to children, yet you do not have it. And children will not give respect where they have not observed it being given. The way we eat, the way we dress, the way we move, the way we conduct our business. Parents, especially women, stop appearing naked before your children, because they will also want to appear naked. If you go, if I got some money and I requested you that we move around Kampala and attack wardrobes of women today,
You'd find clothes of children in.
You would find children of clothes of children in women's wardrobes, and you cannot speak differently. So let us have shared responsibilities. And when it comes to single parents, usually when it comes to single parents, that first of all is very unfortunate, because it is very traumatizing to both parents to raise children single-handedly. Number 2, it is very disturbing, especially to women. Children tend to ask their mothers, "Where is my father? Why is he not here? What is he doing?" And I tell people the effect of Oedipus complex, where girls relate so much with their father, and boys relate so close to their mother.
All right.
That one has a deeper impact in the being of human being, in raising a complete human being, because there are desires that a woman will never give a son or a daughter. There are also desires that a man will never give a daughter or a son.
Okay.
That times I encourage that single mothers should always invite uncles, or take these children where they are men, so that they learn some of the things from outside, but under their supervision.
Okay.
The same applies to men.
As you conclude,
It's unfortunate that it happens and you cannot stop it, but then if we don't do it, as I conclude, I want to conclude with the pregnancy management. The things you do during pregnancy are likely to show up when a child starts growing. These things where you find girls are taking their stomach for screenshot, for photo shot, they go for these baby showers. How can you take a picture of a baby who is not yet born, and you are starting to do things, because children start listening the stages of pregnancy, which is the first trimester, second, third. In the third trimester, a child is grown up and can listen and understand what you are doing. We need to learn how to manage pregnancies and respect pregnancies, but not to carry pregnancy. It is already seen, you cannot hide it. But then why do you expose it?
How does the camera affect the child inside?
I have told you that a child communicates from the womb
Okay.
on the third trimester, which is from 6 months to 9 months. You can tell your baby to sleep inside the stomach, and the baby knows what you are telling. Once you are in pain, the child understands your pain.
Okay.
When you are hungry, the child understands your situation. That's why men need to be very careful, and even in places of work, respect every pregnant women and take good care of them.
Okay.
Offer them good services, offer them care, respect them, and make sure they carry their pregnancy in the most excellent environment. In so doing that, we shall have nice babies and good children to raise.
Interesting. This brings us to the end of our discussion. We've been talking about promoting best practices during school holidays. It was a very big privilege and honor having you, Brian Alnetwe, the psychiatrist from Nakasero Hospital. And we're also having Barbara Msinguzi, social worker coming from Shared Love, Uganda. It was also a privilege having you, Agwang Aida, PR specialist coming from Compassion International. I want to thank you, our listener, who is being part of us from the other side of radio. We are here because you are there, and we can't thank you enough. I worked with Alex and Bob Bryan. Many thanks to you who contributed to this discussion, especially those who sent in their messages and called. And also want to thank you, the guests, for making time to come and educate, inspire, inform the people of Uganda. The repeat of this program is always on Sunday, tomorrow, from 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. Always endeavor to tune in and listen to one on one. And also, this program is always on YouTube. You just enter UBC Ground Zero, and you'll be able to follow this kind of discussions and conversations that we have on Ground Zero. This brings us to the end of our program. Thank you for being part of us from the time we started up to this time that we have to end. Paida Amonoptega is my name. George Ngobi is coming your way with The Journey on UBC Red. And many other programs are coming your way from UBC Butebo, UBC Magic 100 FM, and also Western Nile Radio. Until next time, same station, same program. I'm Paida Amonoptega. Allow me now to sign out.
That was Ground Zero Season 2, a production.